Hello guys, welcome to the next video tutorial on Android app development for beginners. And in this video we will see what are fragments in Android and how we can use fragments. And we will also see an example how to use fragments so that we can understand it in a better way. So first of all, what is a fragment? A fragment represents a behavior or a portion of user interface in an activity. That means we use fragment inside an Android activity. And you can combine multiple fragments in a single activity to build a multi-pane user interface. And you can reuse a fragment in multiple activities. So I will show you a picture which will give a demonstration how a fragment can work. But let's see what is an advantage of fragment. So the greatest advantage of fragment is that it simplifies the task of creating UIs for multiple screen sizes, and activity can contain number of fragments. Okay, so let me give you an example so that you can understand it in a better way. This picture I have taken from android.com, so you can also see this picture, and in here you can see this fragment example for tablet and handset. Okay, and in here you can see in the tablet example uh, two fragments, fragment A and fragment B, because tablet screen is bigger, so you can adjust, or you can insert two fragments inside one activity here. Okay, so this is a tablet screen and which contains an activity, and inside here there are two fragments. One fragment is this block which is green here, another fragment is this one. And this is something like whenever you click a button you will be able to see the corresponding screen related to the button action, right? So when you click some button for some image, for example some landscape image, you click landscape button, you will be able to see landscape image, or some person's image, or some country or region's image when you click them, right? So in this tablet example there are two fragments inside activity, and whenever you click these button in one fragment, you will be able to see the corresponding response in other fragment. In the same way, in because handsets screen are small, so here you have activity A and fragment A inside this activity, and activity B which contains fragment B. So whenever you click some button in fragment A in activity A, you will be able to see this activity V inside this fragment, or fragment B inside this activity, right? So the basic idea is the reusability of your code, because you can use multiple fragments, so you can create a fragment and reuse it in multiple activities. And basically if you make fragments, it will reduce your code writing, and you will be able to write a really good code. Now let's take an example. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new project for this fragment example, and in here I will name my project as fragment example, and in here I will choose the default minimum SDK, and in here note that we can use fragment above API 11. So it's better to use API 11 or above to use Fragment in a better way. So I will use API 11 or Android 3.0, which is Honeycomb, and then I will click next, and I will create a blank activity. Click next, and I will leave them as default and click finish. So now our blank project is created, and we can see this hello world text view here. I'm going to delete it, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my text view of this activity main.xml file, and instead of relative layout we are going to use linear layout here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just change this relative layout to linear layout. Okay, now when you change this layout here from relative layout to linear layout, you will be able to see a error here, and this is nothing but whenever you add some child to your activity, or then this error can occur. So for fixing this error, what you need to do is you just need to go to the property here, and in here go to the property called orientation and change the orientation to vertical, and this error will be gone. Okay, because our layout is linear. Okay, now what we are going to do is we are going to take two buttons, and we are going to listen for this button click events, and we will try to open two different fragments using these two buttons. Okay, so I will rename these buttons as, for example, fragment 1, and the second button I will name as fragment 2. Okay, and I will just change the property layout width property of these two fragments to fill or match parent. Okay, so they cover the whole width. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some fragment to our project. So go to your app folder, and inside this app folder go to resource directory, and inside this go to this layout folder where your activity underscore main.xml file is there. Now just click this layout folder and right click it and create new, and we are going to create a new fragment which is a blank fragment, and we will name this fragment as, for example, fragment 1. Okay, fragment 1 or fragment 1 like this, and I will click finish. In the same way I will once again add a second fragment, so I will right click on layout, new fragment, blank fragment, and I will name it as fragment 2. Okay, fragment 2. So this will create two fragments for us. This fragment is the fragment number 2, and this fragment is fragment number 1. Okay, now let's change the background color of these two fragments so that we can recognize the fragments. So for example, this fragment I will just change the background color to a little bit reddish. Let's see what color we can choose for fragment 1, for example green. Okay, so that we can recognize these two fragments. Okay, now what I'm going to do is, here you will be able to see inside your Java folder there are two Java file will be created for fragment 1 and fragment 2, that are fragment1.java. I'm going to click this fragment1.java file, and in here you will be able to see this all code is created for you by Android Studio for you. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, to make things simple, I will just remove all the code and I will just leave one method here, and this method will be on create view method, and all the other methods I will delete. Okay, so there is only one method I'm going to leave, which is on create, and we will do the same for fragment2 also. So we will click fragment2.java file and we will delete all the code other than on create view method. So delete all the code inside this class and just leave this on create view method. Okay, now what I'm going to do is, I'm going to once again go to my activity underscore main.xml file, and I will try to add this fragment in this remaining space. Okay, so I will go to text, and in here I'm going to add this fragment. So just add a fragment, and this will create a fragment for you, and you can choose which width and layout height you want. So I want to add match parent for the height and width. Okay, now you can add some more properties to this fragment, like ID. So I'm going to add some ID. In order to save time, I will just copy and paste this, and ID, for example, we will name fragment place, for example. Okay, now you can also add the default fragment here, so that whenever we will run our activity, some default fragment should be set inside this fragment. Okay, so what we are going to do, we are going to add a default fragment to it. So just write Android name, and we will add a default fragment here. So inside these double quotes, go to your fragment1.xml file in here, and just copy the name of this fragment from here, or context, com.example dot whatever is the name of your fragment. So just copy this from here and go to your activity underscore main.xml file and paste it under Android :name. Okay, now this will create a fragment in your activity. Now we are almost done with our design, and what we want to do is, we just want to write the code so that whenever we click a button, a fragment related to that button will be displayed in this fragment area. Okay, so there is a abstract class called fragment manager we use to work with fragments. So this fragment class or fragment manager class, what is this? So to manage fragments, we need a fragment manager. This is an abstract class in Android that helps us to handle transaction between fragments. Okay, and we also are going to use a fragment transaction class, and these transaction, or with transaction we mean a sequence of steps like add, replace, or remove fragments. Okay, so let's add some code to our main activity.java file.